Now, let's go over to the GOP side of the coin, shall we? We're going to go over to the GOP for a hot minute because Donald Trump might have a new primary opponent. Check this out. Trump critic Joe Walsh is going to launch a presidential bid. The former Chicago area congressman turned radio talk show host has decided to challenge incumbent Donald Trump. So this guy gets it. Joe Walsh gets it. Joe Walsh knows that we need another wealthy old white guy who hosts a talk show and blames immigrants for most of our problems to take on Donald Trump. That's a breath of fresh air compared to Donald Trump, an old wealthy white guy who hosts a talk show and blames immigrants for most of our problems. And is opposed to any type of tax increases on the 1%. That's the guy that's a true alternative to Donald Trump. This guy. All right, let's see what else he has to say, though. All right, so he's going to run against Donald Trump. Sources close to the matter say he's told associates he now expects to run. So here's what he says about Donald Trump. Now, by the way, Walsh, in his one term in Congress, was known as a Tea Party follower who was well to the political right. Again, huge alternative to Donald Trump here. Again, talk show host, big on the Tea Party, hates tax increases on the 1%, likes to scapegoat immigrants, old rich white guy, very different from Donald Trump. I'm seeing all the differences. Embraced by the Tea Party. This guy, huge contrast to Donald Trump. All right. Okay. Here's some of the stuff he says. So he voted for Trump, by the way. He's increasingly stepped up his attacks. He calls Donald Trump a liar who cannot be trusted. True, which is why it must be so damn disappointing to those Americans that Donald Trump was such a weak man yesterday in Helsinki with Vladimir Putin. Okay. How much do you want to bet tomorrow Donald Trump actually gives himself the Medal of Honor? That's kind of a funny tweet. I'll tip my hat there. That's how much you want to bet tomorrow Donald Trump actually gives himself the Medal of Honor. That's a funny tweet. So Joe Walsh, by this tweet alone, I'm going to say Joe Walsh is funnier than Donald Trump. Again, that's based on this tweet alone. Joe Walsh might have tweeted some absolutely horrific things in the past, okay? And I don't know what they are, so don't be like, you said he was funny, here's a horrible tweet that he said. Like, okay, yeah, I don't know everything about the guy. I'm just basing it off of that one tweet that is funnier than anything I've ever seen Donald Trump tweet. That's all I'm saying, all right? Don't dig through the guy's timeline and be like, look at this. I don't care. Anyway, so here's something else Joe Walsh said about Donald Trump. He bragged about how much victims of mass shootings love him. He actually bragged about it. He actually did. Okay. Have we ever had a bigger crybaby in the White House? Nothing about policy here, by the way. No, because, again, Donald Trump just represents all the GOP policies. There is nothing policy-wise that makes Donald Trump any different from the GOP. What's different about Donald Trump? He's not subtle about it. He talks meaner. So all these horrible policies that Donald Trump stands for, and these are horrible. Donald Trump is horrible. But Donald Trump is just the GOP unmasked. This is the GOP. And as Noam Chomsky said it, the GOP is one of the greatest threats to humankind. I don't think there is any party, political party, as fascist and repulsive as the GOP in any other similar system to ours. I don't think there's any other similar democratic experiment. I mean, over in England, the Democrats are to the right of the Tories and on certain issues. The Democrats are to the right of the right-wing party in England. So how are the GOP? And part of the reason the GOP is so repulsive is because they don't have any real opposition, because both parties are in bed with Wall Street. Both parties are in bed with the big banks. Both parties are in bed with big pharma. Both parties are bought by the donor class. So we have one party, it's the money party, and we live in a plutocracy. So that's why something as repulsive as the GOP can exist. And here you have someone who's just a talk show host making it out like he's some actual alternative. Not one. Let's go to the article, see if there's one policy position he opposes Trump on. If anything, okay, nothing. All right. You wake up this morning, we'll read another one of his tweets. You wake up this morning reminded again that Donald Trump is completely unfit to be president. What's most disappointing once again this morning is the continued cowardly silence of congressional Republicans in the face of this overwhelming truth. Again, all personality, nothing about policy. Walsh recently told me, this is the author of the article here, Walsh recently told me ratings on his syndicated talk show have held about even with moderate listeners, replacing defecting Trump loyalists. So that's what makes him moderate now, according to this article. According to this article, and on the right, what qualifies someone as a moderate, you like all the horrible policies, but you just want somebody that talks nicer. That's it. That's it. Fascist policies, you're fine with them. Talk nicer. Talk nicer about it. Put a nice little sugar coating on it. Joe Walsh. I'll be the sugar coating. That should be his campaign slogan. We just made campaign slogans for two horrible candidates today. Joe Biden, shrug. Joe Walsh, I'll be the sugar coating. There we go. You're welcome, Joe Walsh and Joe Biden. Feel free to use both of those. I don't even want anything for it. Just use it so you're actually being honest with people for once in your careers. Joe Walsh, I'll be the sugar coating. Joe Biden, shrug.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your news